Today we're going to continue reading the stories Huey Tells by Anne Cameron. Today we're going to take a look at chapter 3, which is called Chef Huey. Food should be different from the way it is, I said to my mom. Then I wouldn't mind eating it. How should it be different? My mom asked. I don't know. I don't exactly know, I said. Maybe you will figure it out and be a chef, my mom said. What's a chef? I asked. A chef is a very good cook who sometimes invents new things to eat, my mom told me. The next day, we went to the supermarket. I saw pictures of chefs on some of the food packages. They were all smiling. I wondered if when they were little, they had to eat what their parents told them to eat. Maybe that's why they became chefs, so they could invent foods that they liked to eat. Probably that's when they became happy. The chef with the biggest smile of all was Chef Marco on the can of Chef Marco's spaghetti. Please get that can, I said to my mom. I want to take it home. I wanted to invent something with it, but I wasn't sure what. At first, I couldn't think of anything it went with. Instead, I thought of cakes like pillows. I thought of carrots that would be fastened together around meatloaf to make skyscrapers. One night, I did tie some carrots around a meatloaf my dad made, but the strings that fastened them came loose in the oven, and the skyscraper fell down. It was the night before Mother's Day when I thought of a brand new food. I could see it in my mind. Something yellow, a happy yellow food. One that didn't mind being eaten. In the morning, Julian and I were going to bring my mom breakfast in bed. Julian was going to fry eggs. I told him I had a better idea. What is it? He asked. Banana spaghetti, I said. Banana spaghetti, he said. I never heard of it. It's a new invention, I said. It will be a 100% surprise. Julian likes surprises. So how do we make it? He asked. Simple, I said. We have bananas and we have spaghetti. All we need to do is put them together. Julian thought about it. We'd better get up early tomorrow, he said, just in case. At 6 a.m., we went downstairs very quietly and turned on the lights in the kitchen. We went to work. We mashed up 3 ripe bananas. I took out the can of Chef Marco's spaghetti. In the picture on the can, Chef Marco had his arms spread out wide with a steaming platter balanced above his head on one hand. I decided to stand that way when I brought Mom the banana spaghetti. I would go up the stairs ahead of Julian with her plate so Julian couldn't take all the credit. I held the can and Julian opened it. We put the spaghetti in a bowl. It had a lot of tomato sauce on it, the color of blood. We have to get the tomato off, I said. We put the spaghetti in the sink and washed it with hot water. It got nice and clean. We put it on a platter. It looks kind of spongy, Julian said. It will be good, I said. We just need to put the sauce on it. Julian dumped all the mashed bananas on the top. Banana spaghetti, I said. Taste it, Julian said. But I wasn't sure I wanted to. You try it, I said. Julian tasted it. His lips puckered up. He wiped his mouth with a kitchen towel. It will be better when it's hot, he said. We put it in a pan on the stove and it got hot, very hot. The banana scorched. It smelled like burning rubber. Julian turned off the stove. We looked into the pan. Not all of it burned, Julian said, just the bottom. We can put the rest on the plates. We did. Then we looked at it. Banana spaghetti was not the way I had imagined it. It wasn't yellow. It was brown. It wasn't happy. It looked miserable. It looked worse than turnips, worse than eggplant, worse than a baked fish eye. Maybe it's better than we think, Julian said. When you don't like some stuff, Mom always tells you it's better than you think. Will she eat it? I asked. She'll eat it because we made it, Julian said. That might not be a good enough reason, I said. You can tell her just to try a little bit, Julian advised. That seemed like a good idea. Let's take it upstairs, I said. I handed Mom's plate to him. No, Julian said, you take it up. It's your invention. He handed the plate back to me. I put the plate on a tray with a knife and a fork and a napkin. I started up the stairs. I tried holding the tray above my head on one hand, but it was very tippy. I couldn't do it the way Chef Marco did. And I wasn't happy like Chef Marco either. I wish Julian was with me. I climbed 5 steps. It's better than you think, I told myself. On the 6th step, I just sat down with the tray in my lap and stayed there. I heard the door to my folks' room open. I heard feet scurrying down the stairs, my dad's. He stopped when he saw me. Huey, he said, what are you doing? Thinking, I said. What are you doing? Going for coffee. What is that stuff you're holding? It's banana spaghetti, I said. I invented it. Julian and I made it for Mom. We thought it would be good, but it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. My dad sat by me and looked at it. I passed it to him. It does seem to have a problem, he said. Maybe several problems. He sniffed it and wrinkled his nose. He got a faraway professional look on his face, as if he was comparing it with all the banana foods he had ever tasted in his life. He looked as wise as Chef Marco. Banana spaghetti, he said. It's a good idea. You just need to make it differently. How? Spaghetti is usually made of flour and eggs, Dad explained, but I think we could make it from flour and banana. After I have my coffee, we can try. We went to the kitchen. Julian had eggs out. He was getting a frying pan. You can put that frying pan away, Julian, my dad said. We're making banana spaghetti. He flicked the switch on the coffee maker. In a minute, coffee spurted out, and he poured himself a cup and sipped it. I'm ready, he said. Peel me 3 bananas, boys. We did. Now put them in this bowl and mash them, he said. We did. They came out sort of white, just like the first ones we mashed. And flour wasn't going to change the color. Dad, I said, I want banana spaghetti to be yellow. It's not going to be yellow, is it? Not without help, my dad said. Look in the cupboard. Maybe there's some yellow food coloring in there. We took everything out of the cupboard. Toothpicks, napkins, salt, burn ointment, cans of soup, instant coffee. 6 pennies and a spider web. At the very back, I found a tiny bottle of yellow stuff. I showed it to my dad. That's it, he said. Pour some in, Huey, just a few drops. I did. Stir that yellow around, he said. We took spoons and did it. Bring me the flour, he said. We did. He dumped some in the bowl. This is tough to mix, my dad said, so let me do it. With a fork, he mixed the flour and banana into a dough. Julian, spread some flour on this counter, he said. Julian did. My dad set the dough on the floured counter. I have to knead this dough, he said. You boys clean the cupboard and put everything back in. We did, except for the pennies. We asked if we could have them, and my dad said yes. We put them in our pockets. Dad rolled up the sleeves of his pajamas and pushed the dough back and forth under his hands, twisting and turning and pressing it hard until it was smooth and not sticky. The dough has to rest, so it will be stretchy, he said. He covered it with an upside-down bowl and put a big pot of water on the stove to boil. What should go in the sauce, he asked. It's your invention, Huey, so you decide. I tried to think of the best ingredient in the world. What about whipped cream? I asked. I never had any spaghetti that way, but I thought it would be good. Whipped cream, a great idea, my dad said. I poured cream into a bowl. Dad got the electric mixer out, and I beat the cream. How about sugar? Julian said. Sugar is right, I said. Julian poured some in. Now, my dad said, what about spices? How about oregano? and he gave me the oregano bottle so I could smell it. It smelled like pizza. No, I said. How about cinnamon? He asked. Julian and I both smelled the cinnamon. Yes, we said. And how about ginger? He handed me the can. Julian and I both smelled it. Julian said no. I said yes. Banana spaghetti is mine, so I won. My dad shook in some ginger, and then he beat the cream until it was thick and fluffy. How about sliced banana? Julian asked. I said yes. We sliced the banana. My dad stirred it into the cream. We all tasted the sauce. It was delicious. Now, my dad said, the spaghetti. He uncovered the spaghetti dough and asked us for a rolling pin and the flour. He rolled the dough, and then we rolled it some. Finally, when it was thin and stretched out like a blanket, he folded it over 2 times and cut it into strips. Julian and I separated the strips and unfolded them. They were long and smooth and yellow. We held them in our hands gently like Christmas tree tinsel. The water in the pot was boiling as if it wanted to jump out. We stood on chairs by the stove and dropped in all the spaghetti strings at once. They sunk and swam in the pot for just a minute before my dad dipped a fork and fished one out. He tasted it. Done, he said. Quick, get the plates ready. We did. Dad set a strainer in the sink. He poured out everything out of the pot. All the water washed down the drain. The spaghetti stayed in the strainer. He divided the spaghetti on the plates and shook some cinnamon over it. I spread the sauce on top. It looked good, except for one thing. Just a minute, I said. I found a bag of chopped peanuts and tossed them on top of each plate of banana spaghetti. Is that everything, Huey? My dad said. Yes, I said. Delivery time, Julian said. I went first with 2 plates. Julian came behind me with the other 2 plates. My dad came last with silverware, coffee, and orange juice on a tray. My hands were full. I knocked on the bedroom door with the edge of one plate. Come in, my mom said. I hoped she would just be waking, but she was sitting up in bed reading a book. She looked hungry. I set one plate on the bureau, and I brought the other to her in the way Chef Marco would have done it, held it out like a gift. Happy Mother's Day, I said. What is this? She said. Just banana spaghetti, I said. My dad handed her a fork. She tasted it. Delicious, she said. Very strange, but very delicious. Dad and Julian helped me, I said, but it's my invention. We arranged everything so we could all eat on the bed. When we had eaten all the spaghetti, we had second helpings of sauce. My mom scooped up the last bit of her sauce with a spoon. Banana spaghetti, what a wonderful breakfast, she said. And I was very proud. Just yesterday, there was no such thing as banana spaghetti in the whole world, and now there is. Just like one time the telephone didn't exist, or television, or space stations, a lot of people believed those things could never exist. But then some great inventor made them. I am an inventor and a chef, and I know what I want for dinner on my birthday. Banana spaghetti with chocolate shavings over the sauce and 7 yellow candles on the top. The end.